All right, rock and roll. Welcome to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I'm your host, John. And if you could kindly hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notifications button, and if you're feeling a little on the edge, leave a comment. We had quite a week for the trolls and the rascals out there. And here at the Scorched Earth, we invite everybody, we welcome everybody, friend and foe, sinner and saint. Doesn't matter if you're with us or against us, because if you're with us, you're on the side of right. If you're against us, we're here to educate you. Okay? Welcome all. And happy Mother's Day to everybody out in the audience, all the beautiful moms out there. And whether you have a child, whether you have a fur baby, doesn't matter. Mother's love is mother's love. You know, it is literally the thing that keeps the world going on. What the world needs more is love, sweet love. But it's mom's love that really gets it going. I am truly the most blessed person in the world. I still have my mom and dad. And my mom, most beautiful person in the world to me, is a rascal on a rascal. And she is, you know, it's just the best. You know, I have a lot of stories of my mom. If you've followed the podcast, you've heard a couple. My favorite is probably the popcorn story. And that is where I took my parents to the movies, and we go every week. And we usually sit about midway up. I put her and my dad next to each other, and I sit about 4 seats over. My dad wanted to see a Nicolas Cage movie, and though he's done a lot of really good movies, there was about a 10-year span there where literally he was the cure for insomnia. He was better than melatonin and ZQL combined. You saw his movies and you're like, oh my God, no more. Just waterboard me. I don't need any more. No more Nicolas Cage. Just effing waterboard me. And so we got in there and we're watching the movie, and literally a minute into it, I could see I'm going to get a good 2-hour nap. So I pull my hoodie. I'm getting ready to get into my seat and go take a nap. Like I said, there's about 5 seats between me and my parents. And the gentleman in the front row could tell the same thing I could, that this movie was going to be terrible. And the only reason I saw it is because that's what my dad insisted on. And I could see him. He turns his cell phone on in the theater, and it's like a lighthouse beacon. And he's scrolling because he's trying to do it. He's not courteous enough to go outside because he's going to leave the movie anyway, right? And so he's scrolling to see what theater has what other options to theater switch. And I look over, and there's my mom throwing popcorn out of her popcorn bucket. I'm like, what the fudge? What the hell is this going on? And then I look back, and the guy's still scrolling. I look back, and man, like a catapult, my mom is relaunching. More popcorn is going flying. I'm like, wow, what the heck? My dad, that's how you stay married 65 years. He's just looking straight ahead. Whatever the wife does, the wife does. I'm just going to keep in my lane. God bless you, Dad. I need that self-discipline. So next thing I know, the guy raises up from his seat and he walks the aisle. Now, you know, nobody is going to get to my mom. I boxed for 5 years. You understand from the extensive facial damage. I really do need to look into that cosmetic surgery, right? And he walks the aisle, and I thought, okay, now it's going to get it going. Now it's going to get real. This guy's going to have a bad day. And he walks out. Boop. I'm like, oh, man. Now I can't go to sleep because I don't know if this a-hole is going to walk back in and want some adjudication for this crazy lady throwing some popcorn at his head, right? So now I got to watch the 2-hour movie. I'm pissed off. We get up. We walk out to the aisle. And I said, what was that, young lady? And she says, what? Oh, great. I'm dealing with a 12-year-old here. The popcorn? Get another one. Strong, coming through the hole, LeBron. She says, what? I said, did you not throw popcorn at that man? And she says, no, I didn't. I'm like, what? She says, no, I didn't throw any. I'm like, huh? I said, the guy with the cell phone. She goes, that guy was rude. And I said, yes, he was. He was incredibly rude. And she says, he shouldn't have been doing that. I said, I understand that, movie police. I get it. but you don't need to throw popcorn. She said, I didn't throw it. All right. So we walk about another 20 feet as we're heading to the exit. My dad, he's only concerned with when are we going to stop at Chili's and get some lunch. And I asked again, did you throw popcorn? Unequivocal no. Did not do it. Not even a hesitation. All right. Now I'm thinking in my head, maybe I didn't see it correctly. Maybe her arm, she had some type of cramp or something like that. So then we go about another 10 feet, and then she makes the fatal error. She says, that guy flipped me off. Now, as anybody who's a frequent listener of this podcast knows, I am not that quick-witted, right? I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. It took me a little while to assimilate the knowledge that she had given in her, subliminal confession. And I said, we get about another 50 feet, and I said, hey, wait a minute. If you didn't throw popcorn, why would he have flipped you off? Now she's busted. Now I hear a litany of excuses. It almost got me ready for the Trump administration. Oh, it was because of this and this and this. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I was like, oh my God. Love you, Mom. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the memories and the pain you're going to give me in the rest of my life. And I cherish every day. And if you have a mom out there, hug her tight. Tell her you love her. If your mom is no longer with us, beautiful memories, beautiful thoughts on this most sacred of days. All right. Here at the Scorched Earth, we have an unabridged look at the highlights of the day. And we take no prisoners, tell no lies, and let's go burn it all down. All right. It seems like our favorite punching bag in the administration, Pig Hegseth, was doing a little covert operation on his own there at the beginning of this current term of the presidency. It seems like he blocked aid flights to Ukraine within days after the Trump administration entered office without them knowing about it. So he took it upon himself to stop flights of munitions and arms and different things to help Ukraine in their fight with Putin. Now, the order from the U.S. military told freight airliners at Dover Air Force Base and a U.S. Army base in Qatar to halt 11 flights loaded with artillery shells and other weapons bound for Ukraine in their fight with Russia. Now, Reuters is reporting that Trump himself did not know about it. Now, look, at the end of the day, this is a big decision. And I'm not going to hold it to Trump to know everything that's going on. There is literally thousands of different items going on simultaneously, but at the end of the day, it's Trump's fault. Okay? We know it is. Heavy lies the crown. Heavy lies the crown. The verbal order reportedly came from Hegseth's office to stop the flights, according to U.S. Transportation Command records reviewed by Reuters. The pause in aid was previously reported, but Hegseth's apparent direct role in making the call to halt the flights was not. The flights resumed several days later when then National Security Advisor Mike Waltz intervened for the aid go back to Ukraine. Mike Waltz, I guess we missed you a little. It is amazing that when Trump came in, he said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. I guess that didn't work out too well. And now we're finding out that, the president has a lot of levers. When you elect somebody, you're giving them quite a bit of autonomy and power. And he obviously is legally allowed to do this. It is amazing, because, for instance, if you give Ukraine $40 billion, Congress allots it, you're going to give it. It doesn't say when you got to give it. Typically I would think they'd have schedules there, but if the president doesn't want to do it, the president doesn't have to. As we saw this week in Senate subcommittee hearings with Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, who is just a bloody effing idiot, the Senator Murray from Washington asked him, do you have your budget? Do you have your budget that you have to present to us for allocation of resources for the FBI? Now, that was due last week, and he said, no, I haven't got it yet. And she says, well, are you going to have it here today? And he goes, no, we're just working on it. Like, wow, They are cutting the government left and right, and this guy doesn't even have the balls to come up with a budget? Like, how arrogant is this guy thinking he is? Or maybe we're going to dismantle the FBI. You know, hey, in this administration, everything's on the goddamn table, right? You know, who knows what's going on, right? So this follows another month of total chaos for the Defense Department and Pig Hegseth. You wonder when they're going to fire him. I think the only reason he is still there is because he passed the polygraph test that says he hasn't leaked to the media. I think that was Mike Wall's downturn. I think having Rosenberg from the Atlantic in that group chat, they looked at that like he's the leaker. That's the only thing. If they would have thought Hegseth was the leaker, Hegseth would have been out. Somebody's head was going to roll from that signal chat. And I think at the end of the day, Pig Hegseth is too goddamn stupid to know how to use the phone to call the media. So that works in his favor, right? All right. Seems like the U.S. permanent residents, people coming in on visas, are already being asked on official government forms whether they've applied for the Trump card visa. We talked about this a while ago, and this is basically where you are selling citizenship in the United States for $5 million. For $5 million, you can come in and become a citizen. Wow! Who needs Final Jeopardy? Bing, bing, just bring in $5 million. All right. You know, that's the way you want to generate revenue? All right. Hey, man, that's what it is. I mean, I'm appalled by it. I'm sickened by it. In this country, the rich are gaining a disproportionate amount of power. Like we talked about yesterday, the wealth gap that is incredibly increasing. And really, I recommend anybody to listen to just the stark numbers that the 1% are increasing every year. It is obscene that the 1%, the 3%, the 5%, the 10%, literally, I think the top 10% was something like 174 trillion, and the bottom 50% was 4 trillion. I mean, it's so out of whack you can't even get your head inside it. You know, Trump's part of these people. You know, and we are now a nation that just caters to the rich. And at the end of the day, what is going to happen is there is going to be a revolution. At some point, there is going to be a revolution that hits the street. Now, everybody says that's not possible. That can't happen. Yeah, right. Sure, tell that to Syria. Tell that to Egypt a couple of years ago. You know, and I remember poignantly in Egypt, that literally came up in 3 days on Facebook. They got together on Facebook and they said, we're done with this and whatever. And at the end of the day, the military, the police, they can't stop the people. You know, the Republicans, you know, maybe that's how they make the power grab to become a dictatorship. I don't know. But it is coming because more and more people feel they don't have a legitimate shot in the system. They feel like the system is rigged only for the rich. And that the rich are doing one thing. They're trying to squeeze us on every level so we work until we die. That's exactly what the fuck they want. They want you to go to your grave and then, oh, okay, your heirs get a check for 2 or 3 years from Social Security. You know, which is just absurd on every level. I just read a story, maybe I do it tomorrow, about how the federal government, in its effort to slash the workforce, is now going to go to the backup of, well, we're going to start messing with their retirement benefits. We're going to start squeezing them there. Because if we squeeze them there, they'll opt for voluntary retirement now. You know how you see all these departments, Social Security among them, that have all these people opting out for early retirement? Well, a big part of it is they tell you, well, if you don't retire this year, your benefits package is going to change. I was talking to somebody. They're in the federal government, state government, and their retirement is based on their top 3 years. Well, now there's a policy in for next year. It's going to be the top 5, which obviously lowers your amount of income that you get in retirement. Come on, man. Most people are going to go for it Because as you've went through the ladders, you've gotten raises, you've got cost of living increases, whatever you have, your salary goes up, with every contract. Well, okay, those 2 years that are lower are going to bring down the whole number. For instance, if you had a 200, 150, and 100, okay, your average is 150. But if you add in a 75 and an 80, now the number goes down to 130. That's a big difference. Not that that's what federal employees make. As far as I'm concerned, they're probably some of the most underpaid people in the world. Federal workers are the most efficient, the best workforce literally anywhere. I don't care. I'll put them up against private enterprise. The private enterprise, I've been in that my whole life. Yeah, right. It ain't all what you're talking about in a box of cookies, right? So we have this gold card that Trump floated in February. For $5 million, you can become a citizen. Elon Musk has been working on the infrastructure. Of course, he's going to get a piece of that. That it allows the wealthy to buy permanent U.S. residency. And David Breer, who's writing for the Libertarian Cato Institute, which isn't exactly a progressive think tank, said that Trump cannot lawfully sell green cards in excess of what Congress allows every year. Congress allows only so many people to come in for residency, apply for residency each year. That comes in legislation. Wow. My question is, David Breer, when did you think Trump was actually going to start listening to Congress? What have you indicated in the first 3 months that seems to say this guy gives an F? How you doing? Those who apply for global entry or using a foreign passport are currently given the option to say they have submitted for an application for the Trump Visa card. Wow, that gets you to the front of the line, doesn't it? Yep, country for all. Come here for freedom and the money, right? Keep giving, keep giving. The ideal of America and it giving us a shot, it is still the greatest country ever. There's no doubt about it. But I was watching The Godfather Part 2 the other night, and you see Vito Andolini coming into New York and seeing the Statue of Liberty and how all those immigrants were so in awe that they were now in America and they had a shot at the gold ring. Do we really have a shot at the gold ring anymore? Or is it just a rigged game? It's a rigged game. It is. I'm not saying you can't make money, but it's like an anaconda. An anaconda doesn't kill you with one strike, one knockout. It's slowly, every time you exhale, it squeezes a little tighter. And that literally is what they're doing to the middle and poor class in this country. They do it by going after unions because unions allow you to have a middle class income, a middle class life without having an incredible student debt. Gives you a shot at it. And if you look at the standard of living, it has slowly de-escalated right along with the de-escalation and the loss of power of unions in this country. The unions, everybody sits there and goes, oh, they're a bunch of fat people. Yeah, right. F you. And then, by the way, F you again. Is if you have a union that's paying people $20 an hour, let's just say hypothetically, and the standard in that industry is 15, well, everybody else there has to kind of keep within range of the union or they're going to lose their workforce to a union. Now, if the union isn't in here, is the $15 going to be 10? Damn right, because employers are always looking to cut that bottom line. That is the biggest variable. All these things about, oh, they raised the minimum wage, they're going to get rid of workers. Let me give you a little life hack. Every employer in every business is looking to shed employees. That is their biggest variable cost. The more they can get robots, the more they can get AI, the more they can get a third world guy on an operator to answer your calls instead of somebody in America, the more money they make. And look, at the end of the day, that's what business is here for, is to make money. They're not here to be social remedies. No. They're here to just stuff their pockets with money, and if they don't, they go bankrupt. Okay, kill or be killed. That's fine. Oh, wait, until they get a government bailout. Hey, how you doing, banking industry in 2010? Oh, how you doing, Detroit, in 2013? Hey, how you doing, airlines in 2020? We saw everybody get a bailout then. Oh, except the American worker. Yeah, don't you worry about it. All right, final story. Seems like the state of Tennessee is now working in cohorts with the Trump administration to deport people. Oh, what a shock. We didn't see this coming. A Republican state. Makes me wonder how they're going to do this in California and New York, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The state of Tennessee, a Republican stronghold, is run by a Republican governor. I don't care about this idiot's name. They worked in cohort this week with the U.S. Immigration and Customs, and they deported over 108 people. And what I found interesting, the Highway Patrol was, quote unquote, targeting people. Now, they say they weren't targeting, they were just doing random stops, but they were in impoverished areas. They weren't in Beverly Hills, they were in South Central LA, to give you a little understanding of where they were. They don't go to the richest place and start doing traffic stops. No, they don't want to piss off the rich people. They go to the poor areas and they start rounding up people. But what I found very interesting in here is obviously the Trump administration is not doing due process. Okay? They sent Abrego Garcia to spend the rest of his life in a jail in San Salvador without a due process hearing, accusing him of crimes of which they have no evidence. Okay? This guy just didn't get deported. He didn't get put on a plane, go to another country, and they say, hey, good luck and Godspeed. No, they put him in jail. He's in jail. And there's no crime. Now, I had a troll tell me, oh, he's MS-13, he's this. Well, you know what? If that's all true, present it at a due process hearing in America. Of course, they didn't do it because they don't have that evidence. Oops. Spoiler alert. But what I found out in the Tennessee thing, where the Highway Patrol worked with ICE to round up people, is how are they going to get them? This due process thing is becoming a real pain in the butt for the Trump administration because they don't want to spend the time on having hearings. So when they scoop them up, they give them a form. Yeah, wait for this. They give them a form and they say, will you agree to be self-deported? Now, why would anybody do that? They're here. Because, as we've seen in Louisiana, people get stuck in these cells, in these deportation centers for 6, 8, 9 months. Maybe forever. That's the fear factor. And now these people are going to go, yeah, I guess it's better if I just go back to XYZ than if I sit in some cell in Louisiana for 8, 9 months. Hey, there you go, right? Now, remember, Trump has, at this point, the closest numbers we've seen, he's only deported less than 160,000 people. Biden last year deported 1 million. Okay, so he's really got to start ramping up these numbers. His goal is for 1.4 million this year. Okay, maybe he gets there, maybe he doesn't. But then I wonder on the other side, all we talk about is the tariffs in the news. Understandably so, right? But what happens to the workforce when you have the immigrants who are probably basically agricultural service industry? They're working in the back of the kitchen. They're working in the fields, picking the food. What happens when they just say, we got to go? What happens to our food on that side? Because now you have fields. I mean, I couldn't even imagine being in the agricultural industry, understanding like, wow, my workforce could literally be wiped out in one day. All they have to do is just run up, and literally all these crops I've been feeding, nurturing for 6 months are wiped out. They're becoming tomorrow's trash. I don't know. We're going to have to see, right? Signs and wonders. All right. Like I said, if you could, hit the like and subscribe button. Happy Mother's Day once again to all mothers, whether it's human, non-human. I always have an affiliation for the little fur babies. The little cats, the little dogs, little squirrels, super producer, befriending. Every time I see her, I am so lucky to see her. It seems like we've got another little animal in the hood, First it was Chub Chub, then it was Moose, and honestly, there was another one that got added yesterday. She couldn't find Chub Chub. God, where's she come with these names? And she came up with another name. I don't know what it was. But you know what? I got so much going on in my head. Just trying to figure out how to turn on my computer. All right. I just want to tell you all, I love you. We're in this together. We are going to win this fight because we're on the side of good. We're on the side of righteousness. And we are on the side of democracy. Love you all. We need each other. We're going to see this through to the end. All right. That's all from Scorched Earth, and we'll see you soon.